With an introduction to the session, which hopefully you're all in the right room. This is on building templates to improve faculty and student experience, collaboration, and engagement. Okay, quick introductions. I'll introduce myself and then hand it over to Miriam to introduce herself. I teach at Wartburg College and have several different roles. I'm in the education department, teaching mainly literacy and math methodology courses, dabbling a little bit in ESL, but then I also have a position, Assistant Dean of Faculty Development. So play a pretty large role in the tech development and have been using and making templates for quite some time now. So we appreciate you joining our session and nice to virtually meet all of you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mariam Rodzabo. I'm currently working as an education program consultant in Iowa Department of Education. Previous to my current role, I was a colleague with Stephanie at Wartburg College. I was an assistant professor of education. And one of the reasons that this presentation came to be was some of the work that we put into designing and development of some new online programs and trying to help ourselves and faculty and collaborating on some of that. So hopefully you will find this helpful and simple enough to adopt in your own classes.
Excellent. Okay, 4 areas that we utilize templates include email and communication templates. And a lot of this is truly just helpful in terms of, can you see the doc or the image I just opened?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And so a lot of times I found faculty really benefit from having some of these emails written that they can open and modify for their liking. But you can kind of see at the top left-hand corner, there's a welcome to the class. It's open, it hasn't started yet, with where to begin, here's some navigation. Then the email for it starts today. And then that first week, I really go heavy on the communication with students like you should be doing. So once we get past like the day 5, then we start into the week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. I have shared these with faculty and they really do appreciate that. And then course shells with dedicated resources page and general assignment rubrics. And I'll be sharing a little bit more later on in the presentation about some of the templates that Miriam and I have designed and share with the college as a whole. We also have built some task lists either in the learning management system or this interactive task list using Google Docs for students to be able to go in and basically self-monitor and self-assess their forward movement in class. And then the visual design, we'll talk a little bit later about the team approach and just having that nice, clean look, welcoming, user-friendly, all of the good quality matters, criteria points to help that visual design and make it good for the end user.
Awesome. And so just like Stephanie mentioned, I was an assistant professor of education. And one of the things that I was able to utilize so much in my practice was the templates that was already existing. I had seen also I was a instructional designer before my faculty role. And sometimes we had some of the misconceptions around the templates that it takes away the faculty freedom of choice and it takes away some of that personalized features. But I think one of the things that, and when Stephanie shows some of the examples of what we mean by template, I think it makes it very clear that from a tenure track faculty perspective who has to teach 3, 4, 5, or even sometimes just like we all experienced in the last 2 semesters, when we have to move a lot of courses into online or remote format, having these templates help ourselves and our students in some consistency. And one of the practices that I definitely wouldn't approve is to um, just using a template and then having instructional designer putting the content into those templates. That definitely will take away some of that freedom, some of that personality. But having something in place, having some design in place, a lot of time help us. Um, we had a lot of COVID borrowing. I use that term because there was a lot of good templates, a lot of good resources that we started to borrow. We realized that we can utilize, but a lot of time we don't think of emails or weekly communication or some of those basic things that we do in everyday basis to use as a template. Some of the examples that we will be sharing with you today are around the email templates. We will show you some examples and how we utilize it as a template. But how many of you, you can just type in the chat, you don't have to hit send. You can take a little time to think about it, but how many, can you think of one email that you have received at least from 10 of your students that you have had to respond the same or similar thing to them? Can you just think of one email that you have sent out that you could save it and just hit send and send it to 10 other people? And if you can think of it, if you can put it in chat, we appreciate that.
Very good. All right, so using templates to support new colleagues. This is truly in an effort to get faculty started off on the right foot, get them into the good practices that we want to see with course design. And also, it's just so overwhelming for new faculty. And I agree with Miriam's statement in terms of it's not the instructional designer's job to do the entire thing, but so nice to start from a base. And so including the same layout for all courses. Let me open this up, see if I can't make it a little bit bigger. I really like to use the team approach. And so here you can kind of see on the screen, we have team members, and then we have their charge, we have the tasks, and it's definitely a group project versus one person developing. It's so important with ownership that faculty get involved. But here's just a little, the beginning section is the courses, and then this is really the team member, the charge. And of course, we all agree upon this and are all willing to input. And then just the quick description for what area and what person will be in charge of. And then also having a progress checklist for each of the courses, I found very valuable for faculty to kind of see the progression, see what we should be doing. And so it's, you can see 223, the turn, the development, and then was it approved through all the appropriate pieces. For the syllabi, we use templates for the syllabi as well, especially for programs, online programs. It's that consistency is just so important. And then we get into the course design, and this is really where a lot of the time the chunk was happening within that. But each step along the way, Miriam and I would be reaching out and gathering input from the faculty that would be teaching the courses. What do you think about this? And how we do that, you can see on this page, I have a lot of courses, all the ZZZ courses. I just have courses that I develop, and then kind of it's the little sandbox or the play, and including those faculty that are involved. So when Miriam and I are designing these templates, we could reach out to them and say, what do you think about this introduction page? Does it have everything we need? And then of course, there's the communication of the items that need to remain in there to adhere to Quality Matters standards. Let's see, that progress checklist. Sorry. There we go. Then once we get the course design, we go to launch it. And then the assessment is really such an important key to this, that once it's developed, the template, that it doesn't ever come back. You know, there are things that work really well that we want to double down on. There's things that maybe didn't work as well that would like to go in and change. So that assessment piece is such an important one. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it gets skipped because our lives get so busy. But I found having an actual checklist through the process helps us to remind us that we do need to go back and do those pieces. The limited time saving modification really does, the more templates that faculty have to work with, the more time can be saved and put into the development of the content. And so just the things like the schedule, going ahead and in the summer online template to fill in the correct dates for that. So that's a nice little time saving thing. And just to improve the end user consistency, that type of items. And then the pattern, the consistency, making each page consistent so that students know when they open it up what to expect, where to go, that type of thing. A fun thing that Miriam and I both enjoy doing is the group contracts. So any type of group work that students are working on, to go ahead and develop a contract to provide that ownership. And we use it quite a bit in our templates. This one is Miriam's. So including the group name, what is being presented.
So yeah, for this one, some of the basic information, you want the students to know each other's name. And I always like to use that word liaison. I always like to have a liaison for groups because I want one person from each group to reach out to me, include all the group members in any communication, to avoid those hundreds of email that you can get, or 4 emails in some cases, from all the 4 group members asking the same question. So usually this contract helped me so much with utilizing the time, making sure that the students first communicate with each other and they're not repeating the question that one person in their group has. And then that liaison usually is responsible for submitting the assignments on behalf of the group, making sure that they are filling those times, and the best approaches for them to get a hold of each other, and then some other ground rules that they want to have for their own group, because I have had students who were feeling very comfortable to get a hold of each other through, just a regular phone call or Snapchat, or I have had students who were just like, I do not like to do that. I prefer to do Zoom or FaceTime. So this helped them make those decisions early on. And I ask them to email this to me or submit it online on Blackboard or whatever learning management system that we use. And honestly, I don't have to go back to look at this group contract, and I don't. Unless there is a problem. When there is a problem, we can always go back and say, okay, so the only thing that I check is that they filled it, they have had that communication with each other, and they're aware of each other's the group rules that they have set. And this way they stay strongly with the group rules that they have set for themselves. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Miriam. And then we added as a bonus a lot of last year it was a big hit, is this divorce clause. And it's not used often, but when it is used, I'd say it's very legitimate. And for new faculty, especially working with how to handle some of those situations that come up, especially peers struggling to work together. It truly takes it out of the professor's hand and into the students. And that's really what we're here to do, is to provide them with the experiences where they can go out and be productive professionals. And so this divorce clause is basically saying that if one member in the team is not pulling their weight, not abiding by what the group decided on earlier, that they can divorce a member. And typically, I'd say it happens about once a year, and I do require that they send the email, give the chance, you need to reply by this date, or you need to submit your materials by this date. And if not, they can invoke the divorce clause. And I would say it's a great learning process for all students involved, especially the student that gets divorced from the group, because then what happens is they work on their own. So all the group projects, they're the only person working on it. So there's a lot more time involved. I definitely discuss this with students before. I warn them that it happens, and it happens often, and it's if it's legitimate, and it usually is, then it's a no discussion type of event. But at the very start, we talk about the ground rules. When will the group meet? How long? And then it gets down into what we'll do if a group member does not hold up to group standards. So that's really where I'd go back to say, show me the email, show me the communication. But it's a good way to give responsibility to students. And then I saw in the chat, someone asked if would share all of these things. And in a little bit, I can't remember if it's Miriam or I talking, but you will have an opportunity to add your name and an email, and we'll send you all the documents. Feel free to use how you would like.
And I would like to say the link that I put in chat is linked to this presentation. We have embedded all of the links where you see we are presenting. So if you click on those links, you will see access to these group contracts. If you have problem accessing them, we can get into the group meeting and we can discuss them and we can make them available to you.
Excellent, thank you. So there we go. So the next slide, I'm actually going to just go into my Wartburg. We use the Genzabar learning platform here, which a lot of, some love it and some hate it, but I'd say that's probably most learning management systems. So here's the first template, and you can just kind of see over here, it's course shell for fall 2020. We did do a few updates, and we put some place markers here. For instance, create a 3 to 5 minute video, introduce yourself, and tell students about the course. So the main layout is here, and it's ready for faculty to edit the content and add their particular information. We have a start here page, of course, including a lot of the information. And it looks a little bit different than the start here that I like to use. Here's my LS4. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm not going to take the time to pull the course up, but I do like having the tasks. Do 1, 2, 3, and then move in. And none of my examples are showing that. But I guess it's in my online orientation class where I say first do this, then you're able to move to the next module. In the term, it looks just a little bit different. But as you can see, the week 1, 2, 3, 4 are very, very similar, and it's just a plug and play type of thing. But the hope to increase the consistency for the individual students. And then another thing that's important when you're building templates, especially for new faculty, you can kind of see on this pull down list, I have a May term template, which is our 3.5 week term. I have the online 6 or 7 week shell, a 14 semester course, a summer 6 week course. So, you know, there's definitely not one template that works for all. And I personally don't think faculty should necessarily be locked in, but it is incredibly important to communicate with faculty that there is a reason we have some of these things in here, and the majority of the reasons are quality matters. So to make sure that we're hitting those standards. If you come over to the left-hand side, I've got academic support, tech support, discussion question guidelines, and rubrics, online netiquette. We need all of that, of course, but a lot of this helps cover some of the quality matters standards that we need to be communicating with our students. A lot of people really appreciate having a discussion question, guidelines, rubrics, of course, giving the example of a discussion question, a response to a peer. And I found faculty really crave this too, even more so than students, because if it's the first time that they've taught online, and we have, oh my goodness, so many first time around online teachers right now with COVID, that they really just struggle being able to conceptualize of what it is, how it should look. So this is beneficial. And then also having some general rubrics for writing assignments, multimedia projects, that type of thing. My preference is, and it depends on the learning management system if it works or not, but my preference is to embed the rubric within coursework and then share those rubrics out. So I quite often say to faculty, let's not do the same work 15 times over. Let's get a base, we can share it, and then you can modify it to fit your specific class.
And I would like to add here that, so just like you see this first page that Stephanie has, or different pages that she has, the welcome start here, and the placeholders that she has. Now she has her own individual information in here, but in the actual template, these are just a placeholder that tells the faculty what to put in there. And the nice thing is, if I'm in rush to get something in place, I'm still meeting the QM standards without even trying so hard to remember every piece. And another good piece about having this template is those capitalized letters that you see, or the bold that you see, are using all the, they are following the accessibility rules, and so they are using the different um, definitely forgot the name, the word to use, but they are following the accessibility rules, and so as a faculty, if I place my own text in that place, yes, thank you, heading styles. If I place my own words in there, then it is kind of following that, if I'm following the template by just copying and pasting my content in there. So this is some way that even if as a faculty we modify and create our own templates, and keeping the good template that we have built, then plugging and putting copy pasting the material into the course, we can still follow some of those very simple steps that we can take to make our courses more accessible to our students.
Excellent. Thank you, Miriam. Any questions on the course templates before we move forward? All right. So the consistency of course is key. And Sue, or did someone have a question? I cut you off. Nope, someone just unmuted. So the templates, obviously, the interactive course list, I shared that a little bit. The My Wartburg system has a task list that's embedded within the learning management system. And this is something that I found students really do gravitate towards and seek and want. And so just sharing several different ways with faculty in template forms can really help not only implement it, but have them put some ownership in. Just because I like the Google Doc interactive checklist doesn't mean my colleague will, but the more examples we can see and the more things we can develop and share with other faculty, it's just so beneficial to do that.
Stephanie, there is a good question in the chat. Do you have a maintenance or update schedule for all the template types? I'd say yes. We visited the templates and we created new templates every year, at least, if not every semester. We always, Stephanie and I definitely met very often, and we discussed some of the things that we could add to the template so that they are better. However, the faculty would be the ones who are deciding if they want to copy and paste those additional pages or features to their course. It's very important, I believe, that we continue to make those updates at least once a year when a program is new, and if there's anything that we can add to support the faculty or include some of those pieces like the policies and things that can be in these templates already, then um, we just continue to add whatever that we can add to the template so that it takes away from the burden that it will take for faculty to put it in place.
Thanks, Miriam. And I agree. I think I would say the last big revision was due to the accessibility features. And so I pulled up this order. And if you can't tell, Miriam and I both really like our checklist. We like process and order. And so, the proposals, approvals, the design team, the syllabi, the course design, sharing it, agreeing as a group, then launching. Afterward is assessing. And part of that assessing is modify the syllabus and the course design. So it's definitely a part of it. I can't say, personally speaking, I can't say that I do this as well as I should, but there are so many new things that keep coming out. And so I would say I'm constantly in there playing around, fiddling with it a little bit. And I see that on the faculty side as well. And I think I have a link to this somewhere else in the presentation that I'll be able to share with all of you. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you go for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think we're on this, the consistent, and it's over to you, Miriam.
Sure. This is one of those KISS ideas, keep it simple, smart. I have kind of figured out that the students appreciate getting emails, getting just enough emails from us. Getting email from the faculty every day is just as um, annoying and stressful for student as it is for the faculty to receive so many emails at once, or something that is not easy to manage. So something that had helped me so much managing this was having just a very consistent communication plan, unless something very emergency happened that I had to send extra emails to my students. So just like Stephanie showed you the template, I had listed in my templates in the weekly assignments, I had listed the goals and objective of the week, and then the task list that students could check out, check it off if they've completed the task, and the due date of the assignments for that week. Now, Stephanie, if you click on that examples that is down there, um, I decided that my communications are going to be Monday, Wednesday if needed, and Fridays. So sometimes I didn't do that Wednesday follow up, and I tell you why. So on Mondays, if you can make this a little bigger, I had so the layout, the template that I use for my Monday um, um, thank you. So the template that I used for my Monday emails was greeting. Then if there was a news, like if I had graded an assignment, I wanted them to know and go and check it. Or if there was any other important something that they needed to know. I did like to include 2 or 3 highlights from the previous weekly discussion, because a lot of time in the discussions we read the discussions, but we don't get to reply to all the students. So putting a highlight of some of the previous weekly discussion in that communication always helped, showing that I'm tracking that, I'm gathering the most important takeaways from the discussions and sharing that with the whole group, and encouraging them to do that with their summary. Then in that email, I had an overview of the weekly assignments and then a wrap up. And then I have an example of that. And if you just wait, just go back up. Yep, that right there. So I start with hello everyone, welcome to this week, and just try to make it as basic as possible. For
Mhm.
the items that are due, I do make sure that it is like a check off list format, because it makes it so much easier for students to read. And maybe something good as a um, early, somewhat millennial, I like this format myself, because I can see those bold text there that tells me that there's something important here to pay attention. I see a checklist that it means that there's something that I have to check off. And I see some underline in this email that tells me that, well, if you have a question, you have to post it on the Q&A discussion board. And that's a good reminder to send to the students, so that they know that they can post their question there to get the response to all the classmates, and so that they realize how um, it is shared. And I think this document is linked in the template, that presentation that I shared with you. So if you want to borrow it, feel free to do that. If you want to even copy and paste the same thing and then just modify it, go for it. On Wednesdays, this is something that I do only 2 or 3 times per semester, right there. So I don't even say good morning, everybody. I say good morning, and I don't say a name, or I don't make it look like I'm sending it to everybody. And I actually make this a blind copy to all my students. And the way I have drafted this message is, when the student is reading it, they think that I've addressed this to them specifically. They don't realize that it's addressed to the whole class. So usually I get a reply from most of the students to this email. And usually it is that all is good. Thank you for checking in. And this just showed the student that I'm tracking, or I'm there for them. um, I sometimes even schedule this email to go automatically. Um, it is, one of those smart things to do, because sometimes I'm so busy to do that. But if it goes automatically to my students and myself, I know that this email went out. So my students will start replying to me. And yes, I use the announcement in the learning management system, but I make it so that it only goes to as a blind copy. So scheduled email 2 or 3 times during the semester. And I believe that this helped me so much to have student satisfaction in my class. My student felt like I'm out there checking on their work every week. And if they were behind, they would be like, thanks for following up. I'm gonna, I'm a little behind, but I'm working on it. But the students don't realize that this is just an automated message went to them. And it's just very helpful that that they would be able to reply to that. Some of the learning management systems would allow you to schedule this. I think Genzabor may not support that, but Blackboard, I believe, have that, or Canvas have that opportunity for you to schedule that announcement that would go out on the specific time that you want it to go out. Um, and the last one is the Friday individual follow-up. And for this one, I don't wait until I have graded everything. Yes, thank you, Angela. I thought that Canvas had it, and I'm sure Blackboard has it too, because it used to have it when I was teaching in Blackboard a year ago. The Friday follow-up, though, I go to just check who has not completed the assignment. And the checklist that I had at the beginning of the week, honestly, is one of the best help for myself more than it is for my students, because I make sure that all those courses that all those assignments that they have to submit, the assignment box is linked to the grade book. I make sure that everything is available to students, and um, all of that is created there, so it's ready for my students to submit, and I know what to prepare myself to respond to. And so the only thing I do on Friday, I check those students who haven't submitted them, and I just do a follow-up. And I drafted this email with more of the empathy, not a pointing out email. So I want the email to look passionate and caring for my students. So I started that. I can't believe it's already Friday, because probably that student who haven't submitted an assignment have had a crazy week, or something is going wrong for them. Um, so I asked them, how is their week going? Because if there is an issue that they're dealing with that has caused that barrier for them to not even communicate with me, I want them to be able to communicate that. I say, I realize that you didn't submit, and here I have a typo there, but I realize that you haven't submit your YouTube video or whatever assignment, and I just want to make sure that everything is okay, and let me know if I can do anything to help you to submit this for partial credit and support you in the future assignment. This is very helpful, especially in the beginning of the class, just showing that you are there to support students regardless of whatever. Now, you have your late policy, and you want to be respectful to your late policy. You decide how you want to draft this email based on your late policy. But I try to not include that policy in this email, instead with more empathy going in and trying to help the student who hasn't submitted, um, just to make sure that they have the opportunity, and I'm not going in with the stick and the policy that, hey, this is the policy, and you're already uh, an unsuccessful student. So I've tried to draft some of that language, and feel free to borrow that if you would like to modify it based on what you feel is appropriate based on your late policy or other policy you have in your class. But those very consistent follow-ups and email that you send to students, I'd say are very helpful and very important. And trying to just stick with that day as long as possible is very helpful, because then students know that they're not going to receive an email on a random time from you. Um, yeah.
And for those of you that your LMS doesn't send those types of emails, I have in my Outlook obviously a folder for every class I teach. And then one of the folders for each class is emails. And so all of my sent emails, I use a good subject line so that the next time I teach the class, I can see the email, click on forward, copy and paste the student emails in, and it's really a huge time saving way to do it for me, but it's finding what works for you.
In this other slide, this is something I'm going to quickly touch on, but it is very important if we talk about those communication, the pet peeves that we have, and those things that bothers us when the students do. So as a faculty in education major, I was not happy with students sending an email starting with "Hey" to me, or I didn't like seeing LOL in a very important message that they sent, or wink, or sometimes even smiley can be annoying depending on the situation. So it's very important, if there are some of those things that you want to keep students accountable to communicate those kind of requests early on, beside the netiquette that you have in your course. I think sometimes we believe that because we're teaching a graduate level course, students don't need this, while that's not true. A lot of time this is just a habit that is okay in one setting or one place that the student may be working, or even the classes that they're taking, and maybe it's something that is not okay to me. um, uh, I always like to talk about this early on in my class, in even sometimes in a short presentation, a 5-minute presentation, or if I find a YouTube video that address this, I tell my students, don't say I missed class on Monday, did I miss something? And I'm waiting to see if anyone in chat would say that they have received that, and how annoyed they were that they received that kind of message. Or the students writing an email with all caps that I cannot submit my assignment, or important, uh, or something that is very clear that student has a panic and they are typing because of their panic, and they're sending short emails that is not clear. So there are some very good YouTube videos that the other faculty or teachers have created for students that tell them what is a good question and avoiding bad question, and why saying that I'm confused or the instruction is confusing is not very clear, and how they have to include in their email that what is it that is confusing. I always like to include this kind of instruction and videos for the students, and kind of give them that template for the way that they should frame those kind of questions they have. It helps so much reducing the number of emails we send and received from the students. So it's always very important to cover those. um, Another tip for reduction of burden of the emails that we get as faculty is, first of all, making sure that we're only sending emails to people if it is necessary. If I'm including Stephanie as a blind copy or copy in every email I send out, it means that I'm adding so much to her plate, and she feels like she has to respond to me for some reason. So sending less emails would result in receiving less emails, and for that we have to think about the timing of the email. Is this a good time? Is it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Is it a really good time to send this, or at 6 o'clock? Or can I just draft the email and wait until early in the morning to hit send? And that's something that we have problem doing, because we want to get something out of the inbox or sandbox, but it's always very helpful when we follow those kind of rules, especially now that we are finding ourselves more and more immersed in online living platform, where we are so dependent on emails and online communication. Now, I want you to share some of your tips that you find helpful for good emails, or for some what are some of your good tips for avoiding the burnout from the emails? Just put that in the chat.
And here's from Aaron, shared this, puts this comic in the syllabus. Oh, that is golden.
And that's amazing. And if you see my template that I shared earlier, I have GIF and sign in the weekly Monday email that I send, I always like to find that gift. I didn't do that early on in my faculty career, but then I found that how much it adds the personality. So finding gifts, finding uh, cartoons like that are always helpful, but make sure that you are linking them and following the copyright rules when you are using some of these, or just include like embedded in your message so that students are learning from you.
Yes.
Yep, PhD comics. Hmm.
Oh, very good. So
Yeah.
Miriam, we have about 6 minutes left.
Yeah. So should we just move on to the activity?
Yes.
We're going to make this shorter than what we have here. We're going to break into 2 breakout rooms, and Stephanie is sharing that link with you. That each breakout room, Stephanie is going to be in one of those breakout rooms, and I will be in one. We're going to take 3 minutes to share some of these ideas. And then we can also fill the link that Stephanie shared to come back and share.
Okay, very
All right,
good.
Miriam, I've made you the host, so you can go ahead and create those breakout rooms.
Awesome. Thank you. And you should be able to join the room that you are assigned.